This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news. It's Wednesday, June 11th, 2025, and here are today's stories. Los Angeles sees a fifth day of violent protests following ICE arrests as federal troops are deployed. Here's what you need to know before attending related events nationwide. A surprise move by the USDA is shaking up school lunches, food banks, and local farms. More than $1 billion in funding gone. We'll explain what happened and who's feeling it the most. In Uganda, young people are facing a tough reality, juggling daily survival while promoting financial services. Field Messenger Sharif hears their stories firsthand. Germany's housing crunch is reaching crisis levels. Renters are waiting months, even years, just to land a place to live. What's going wrong, and can it be fixed? Need some inspiration? We'll step into a magical treehouse built by Pete Nelson from Treehouse Masters. Field Messenger Amy shows us the cozy, creative world high in the trees. In Australia, an ancient birthing tradition still thrives. Field Messenger Rosemary takes us to a sacred water birthing site used by Indigenous women for generations. And tourism helps economies and connects cultures, but too many visitors can overwhelm a destination. Find out how overtourism is straining popular travel spots around the world. Riots continue in Los Angeles as protesters clash with police for a fifth straight day, following a wave of arrests by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. On Friday, June 6th, ICE arrested 44 individuals for immigration violations, and the Department of Homeland Security later confirmed a total of 118 arrests over the weekend. Demonstrations quickly escalated, with protesters gathering outside detention centers and downtown, where anti-ICE graffiti was sprayed on federal buildings. Sunday marked the most violent day of unrest, with protesters throwing rocks, bottles, and fireworks, and setting fire to at least 2 self-driving taxis. Law enforcement, including the Los Angeles Police Department, National Guard, and federal forces, responded with crowd control measures such as tear gas, rubber bullets, and flashbang grenades. President Trump deployed approximately 4,100 National Guard troops and 700 Marines to assist law enforcement, marking the first time in 33 years that federal troops have been deployed domestically without the consent of the state governor, a move expected to cost taxpayers at least $134 million over a 60-day period. California Governor Gavin Newsom has challenged the federal troop deployment in court, citing concerns over state sovereignty, while local officials emphasize the need for public safety amid the unrest. Reports indicate several injuries amongst protesters, police officers, and journalists. The protests, which have spread to at least 9 cities nationwide, have included both peaceful demonstrations and violent clashes, reflecting deep divisions over immigration enforcement policies. This video, captured by someone on the ground, shows what's happening firsthand, from the crowds to clashes with police and military forces.
It is the 4th day of protests in Los Angeles. Law enforcement has intensified its response, and it's the strongest I've seen since these protests began. Today was the first day I started seeing real blood. Protesters have been shot with rubber bullets. The tear gas is stronger. I've been tear gassed multiple times during these events, and today, even if you are not near or a few blocks away, it really hurts. It burns the skin on your face. Here are officers telling me to go home, and here's that same line of officers when approached by a woman with her hands up, and from what I've been told, was explaining her apartment was on the street behind them. They shot her point blank with rubber bullets in the chest. I firsthand saw people looting. There's been giant explosions all over downtown, and I've been told protesters are setting off homemade explosives. Officers have shot at me with rubber bullets several times today. Today was the first day that if you are pressed, officers will demand your ID and write down all your information. Today, it felt like these protests reached a new phase. There was both more violence and firmer attempts to regain the rule of law.
To really understand what sparked the Los Angeles riots and how quickly they escalated, be sure to watch our detailed reports this week from the Global Intelligence Agency. According to the GIA, the recent protests may be a test run for a much larger event planned for June 14th in Washington, D.C., when a massive military parade is scheduled to celebrate the U.S. Army's 250th birthday and President Trump's 79th birthday. The parade is expected to include thousands of troops, tanks, aircraft, followed by a concert and fireworks. Supporters see it as a patriotic tribute, while critics argue the timing and multi-million-dollar cost make it feel more like a political spectacle than a national celebration. The event in Washington has prompted a coordinated nationwide protest movement called No Kings, with events scheduled in more than 1,500 cities. The No Kings protest, backed by organizations such as the ACLU and Indivisible, claim to promote grassroots democracy while opposing displays of centralized authority, with the rallying cry, "No thrones, no crowns, no kings." At least one major advertisement has been funded by a well-known family tied to the deep state. We have also seen ads online promoting paid positions for people to participate in the Los Angeles riots. This raises concerns about the potential for planned unrest as these events continue to unfold. If you choose to attend any protests or gatherings, please exercise caution. Stay aware of your surroundings and prioritize your safety. Without much warning, the United States Department of Agriculture made a move that's now rippling through school cafeterias, food banks, and family farms across the country. In May 2025, more than $1 billion in funding was slashed from two major federal programs that help schools and hunger relief organizations buy food directly from local farmers and ranchers. These programs were a big deal, especially for schools trying to serve fresh, healthy meals, and for food banks stretching every dollar to feed families. The USDA pulled funding from two programs, the Local Food for Schools Program, or LFS, and the Local Food Purchase Assistance Program, LFPA. Together, these initiatives were designed to help schools, childcare centers, food banks, and other organizations buy fresh, locally sourced food. It was a win-win. Schools got healthier meals, families got access to nutritious food, and farmers had reliable income. The LFS program alone was set to deliver about $660 million to participating schools and childcare sites in 2025. More than 40 states had already signed up, and more were counting on the funding. But in May, the USDA informed state officials the program was being canceled. The LFPA program, which gave funds to food banks and similar organizations, was also scrapped.
We're going to be losing a significant amount of food, nearly 6 million pounds. It's hard to imagine why these dollars were cut out of the budget.
You know, we spend an awful lot of money building these very fancy tanks and guns, but you can't eat a gun.
The USDA has cut $11 million in funding that food banks across North Carolina were expecting to receive in 2025. The money helps farmers supply fresh, local produce to food banks who then distribute it to people who can't afford groceries.
What we hear a lot about is the fiscal responsibility needs for the government. But what is fiscally responsible about taking food out of the hands of children who are in need and seniors and families in our community?
These peppers here come from a North Carolina farm. We have programs where the government money pays the farmers to grow produce for this food bank.
This investment has allowed the local supply chain to flourish. We are losing $2 million that we use to purchase that fresh, healthy food from small rural family farms each day.
Many of them have told us that without those resources, they may not be able to stay open.
So now not only we are going to impact people who use that food to, live, we're also impacting farmers.
I think about when I was a kid and I was facing food insecurity. To me, a food bank was the dimly lit church basement, full of some dusty expired cans of olives. And that's sort of like what you got, right? That's not what food banking is today. The vast majority of the food that we distribute, over 50%, is fresh produce, fresh dairy, eggs, protein, coming in bins like these directly from local farm.
These cuts are part of a bigger push by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Their main goal? Slash federal spending wherever they can. These local food programs got caught in the crossfire. Many of these programs were expanded under the previous administration, but they weren't just temporary pandemic fixes. These programs were helping to build something better, a stronger, more reliable local food system. They kept money flowing right into local communities, helped schools serve healthier meals without breaking the bank, and gave farmers something they don't often get: steady, dependable buyers. Now, schools, already struggling with rising food costs and tight budgets, are scrambling to keep fresh, healthy food on kids' plates. Food banks, which are still seeing a lot of demand, are being forced to find new suppliers, often ones that cost more. And farmers? Many are stuck with crops or products they expected to sell through these programs. And now they're kind of stuck. Without the expected sales, their income takes a hit, making it harder to cover costs like seeds, equipment, labor, and loans.
On this 2+ acre plot, Michael Howard raises a little bit of everything.
We have 3 other pantries that wanted us to supply them this year. And so we had ramped up and, we're in the middle of doubling what we grow.
Eating Place takes advantage of a USDA program that lets it sell produce to food pantries like the Greater Chicago Food Depository. But on Tuesday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture froze more than $1 billion of programs that provide locally grown food to pantries and schools, saying it wanted to return to long-term, fiscally responsible initiatives.
We were really hoping that we could feed more people this year and make people's lives way better with better nutrition for their families.
The USDA cuts will also take their toll on the depository.
We will definitely have to rely more on fundraising. We'll have to double our efforts on fundraising so that we can help, cover the costs of the purchases that we make to these small local farms.
The USDA has confirmed existing LFPA agreements with unspent money will continue until the money runs out. But without renewed funding, the future of these efforts is uncertain. This isn't just a technical budget change. It's a direct hit to school meals, food security, and the future of local farming. If we care about healthy kids, strong communities, and independent farmers, these cuts deserve a lot more attention and a strong response.
Uganda's young population faces tough challenges, and one example is how youth struggle to make ends meet while promoting loans. UNN Field Messenger Sharif Abdallah interviews a group of young people to learn more about their struggles.
Good evening, viewers. My name is Sharif Abdallah Kama, network news reporter from Uganda, and here to share with you a small story about the way of most of the youths, especially in Uganda. We are blessed to have one of the youngest populations, and so the youngest population comes with its own challenges. With us, we have a team that we interfaced with. This is a group of youth mainly working with the Platinum Credit Organizations. The Platinum Credit Organizations gathers a number of youths, both that have completed school and those that have not yet completed school, or those that have fallen out of school. And what they shared with us is that they look around for customers who they would offer these loans to at an interest rate, monthly, annually, something like that. Yeah, we are privileged to meet a team of youths working with Platinum. Okay, what's your name?
Segawa Alan.
Segawa Alan. You're working with which group?
Platinum Credit.
You're working with Platinum Credit. They give 1 million up to 50.
Yes.
So small and medium enterprise are those that qualify, those with a car logbook, and then those who are civil servants. Okay, what is the interest rate? How much do they return? For example, and if after what period? After a month, if you give an M and a million, they were able to share with us that their pay is based onto the commission, meaning that the number of customers one is able to bring on board, then it is out of such a commission that one is given to earn a living. And it appeared a little shocking to me because it looked, or it is factual, that if one went for a day or 2 or 3 minus bringing on board any customer that would benefit from such loans, meant that he had to go back empty-handed. However, on a positive note, they were able to cite out some options that would be beneficial. Are you the only team that is working with Platinum? Platinum? There are so many. Kakati mweba employing abacha, like at the end of the month, how much do you get as workers? You're paid according to the commission. So the more commission you get. So how many youths? There are so many youths. Almost the entire Uganda. Okay. Wow.
The quality of the job is not bad, but because it is a commission job, you end up getting nothing at the end of the month.
Yeah.
If you fail to get a client in that period, you go home with nothing.
You go home with nothing.
Yeah, it's not a salary job.
What is the entrance level of education? Finished A level, advanced O level, finished ordinary, O level, yep. A level. Wow. So Banange, we are glad to have you people. Maybe, I don't know when we shall link up again, but how I wish one time we linked up and then we make a meaningful production out of youth. Thank you so much for listening to me, and be blessed.
Hundreds of thousands of people in Germany are struggling to find affordable housing. Many spend months searching, sending unanswered requests, waiting in long queues for viewings, and dealing with constant rejection. The housing crisis is getting worse, and the government's current solutions just aren't cutting it. Germany has the highest number of renters in Europe, with more than half the population renting instead of owning homes, according to German statistics. However, the country is now facing a housing crisis due to past political decisions. The federal government sold many apartments to private investors, while local governments cut back on building social housing. Right now, it's estimated there's a shortage of more than 800,000 apartments, and the gap keeps growing. This has pushed rent prices up, making it harder for many people to find affordable places to live. According to the Federal Statistical Office, more than 9.5 million people are stuck living in cramped spaces, affecting everyone from single-parent families and students to refugees, the unemployed, and even more of the middle class.
You'd think Germany, being one of the richest and most developed countries, wouldn't have a housing crisis, right? Well, think again. In cities like Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg, rent prices have skyrocketed so much that even middle-class families struggle to afford decent apartments. Some people are forced to live in tiny spaces, share apartments with strangers, or even move out of the city altogether. And let's not forget the homeless crisis. Thousands of people, including refugees and low-income workers, sleep on the streets, especially in places like Frankfurt and Cologne. The government has tried rent control, but landlords always find loopholes. So yeah, Germany is great, but affordable housing? Not so much.
To combat these trends, the German government has proposed extending rent control laws for another 4 years. The idea is to cap rent increases for new leases at 10% above the local average, a rule originally introduced in 2015 to keep rents in urban areas more affordable. But not everyone agrees. While renters welcome the move, the property industry argues it discourages investment and slows down construction. Rising interest rates have already caused falling property prices and bankruptcies in the sector.
Berlin played around with this a little bit as well. So in those couple of years when Berlin implemented a price control, then the new constructions in the city plummeted. So supply was essentially almost non-existent because no new flats were being built. Because if you're a real estate developer, why would you want to build something where you have a cap on your profits and you just invest the same money in other more profitable areas? So unfortunately, meddling with prices is not a solution. The best things government can do is really not to artificially restrict the supply, let developers build, let individual families create their own homes. And as a result, the supply and demand may come into a closer equilibrium and the prices will stop rising.
Adding to the problem is a legal loophole in German law that landlords are exploiting. They rent out temporary furnished apartments at much higher prices, bypassing rent control laws. These listings often come with steep fees for furnishings and avoid the rules meant to protect long-term tenants. This practice has made Berlin one of the most expensive property markets in the country, putting even more pressure on renters. In response, the German Tenants Association is calling for stricter rent control laws and pushing to close loopholes. Currently, the rent break law doesn't apply to many things, including newly built apartments rented after October 2014, modernized apartments, short-term rentals, less than a year, contracts signed before the law started, or rentals where prices were already too high. The government's recent decision to extend the rent break law until 2029 comes with no changes to the rules. This means tenants already protected by the law will stay covered for 4 more years. But anyone renting outside of these rules won't see any relief. Landlords with properties under rent control will continue to follow the same regulations. But for many renters, the struggle for affordable housing continues.
Hi everyone, this is Leanne.
And I'm Jerry.
Coming to you from Tamworth, New South Wales.
Hi there, this is Rick from Arizona.
My name is Uchechukwu Obenebam from Igbo tribe, Nigeria.
Hi, this is Scott from Utah.
I'm Annette from Agassiz, British Columbia.
Hi, I'm Marcus Sulzet from Manipur State, India.
Real people reporting real stories from all around the world. That's what United Network News is all about.
Can you clap?
We had a huge flood, which some call the flood of the century.
No fake news here. Our field messengers share personal experiences of what's really happening in their community.
We got some nice fish right here.
At UNN, you are the news.
My family and I had a very good time.
Take the next step. Become a UNN field messenger and share the real news with the world.
In the northwest province of South Africa, I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I am United Network News, and if it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's going to be, it's up to me. If it is going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to us. Field Messages, United Network News. See you next time.
Step into a world of possibilities with New Earth, a groundbreaking series that shines light on holistic ways to live, work, and thrive. Join us weekly to discover new innovative ideas and explore the world around us as we, together, create our future, our New Earth.
UNN Field Messenger Amy explores an incredible treehouse design by Pete Nelson from Treehouse Masters. It's full of charm and creativity. Let's take a look.
Hi, Field Messenger Amy reporting for UNN from Bridgewater, Connecticut. And have you ever been wandering through the woods and stumbled on something fascinating? Well, today I'd like to take you to the treehouse that I found that was built by Pete Nelson's Treehouse Masters. And if you don't know who that is, they had a TV show that ran for like 5 years. It ended in 2018. And the treehouse I'm going to show you today was built about 10 years ago. So let's go see a real treehouse. Pete Nelson always has a cornerstone for his tree houses, and the stairs that lead to the tree house are always built on this cornerstone. So you go up the stairs and over this bridge to get to the tree house, and you can see the solar panel on the left that powers it. So let's go inside. As you can see to the right, there's a little dinette area, and on the left there's a little nook where you can sit or read. And then when you go further back, there's a little storage, and you can see the stairs that take you upstairs to the loft. It's just a really cute treehouse. And this is the loft upstairs. You can see it's being used as a sleeping quarters. You are truly in the middle of the woods. This is the view from the outer deck. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.
For generations, birthing pools have offered Indigenous women a serene space for childbirth. UNN Field Messenger Rosemary takes us to Gympie in Queensland, Australia, to discover more about this enduring practice.
Hi, I'm Rosemary, Field Messenger in Gympie in Queensland, Australia, and I'm here at Mary's Creek at the birthing pools, and these are indigenous birthing pools, and I'm going to have a little bit of a chat with Jules here, who knows a little bit more about them than I do. So here we are, off to the birthing pools. Little group, hasn't been up here for a couple of years, so we're not sure what we'll find. Making our way up the river to the birthing pools. So making our way further up the creek bed, the Mary Creek, up to the birthing pools. And it's just amazing in here. Absolutely beautiful. I hear the birds, peaceful in the running water. So here we have Jules. Now Jules is local to this area. She actually lives, or these birthing pools are at the end of the road where she lives. So Jules, tell me a little bit about what you know about these Indigenous birthing pools.
Well, as you can see, the rock is red, everybody. So that's jasper. In the crystal family, that's called supreme nurturer. So you can imagine the women coming down the creek to give birth, or it might have been deeper, of course, many years ago. But there's lots of spots where the water flows, like little waterfalls, where the women would have given birth to. So this is a beautiful tangled forest. And I found out about this from my son where he works. So we've lived here a little while, and then we come for a drive. So I bring all the people that come to me to visit, because I used to be involved in a service organisation where people would stay with me, and I'd bring all the international guests up here to have a look at this beautiful forest.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jules. And as you can see, the colour of the rocks, it's just beautiful here. Some of us went for a swim, and it's just amazing. You hear the birds in the background, just a beautiful place to be.
Tourism boosts economies, connects cultures, and helps protect incredible places around the world. But when a destination gets more visitors than it can handle, it can lead to overcrowding, environmental damage, strained infrastructure, and unhappy locals. This growing problem, called overtourism, is something many top travel spots are dealing with right now. So, why is over-tourism on the rise? Rising incomes globally means more people can afford to travel, while budget airlines and easy booking platforms make the whole process super simple. Social media plays a big role too. One viral post can turn a hidden gem into an overcrowded hotspot practically overnight. Add in trends like wellness or adventure tourism, destinations featured in movies, and even events like the Olympics or major festivals, and it's no surprise some places are feeling the pressure. Now, let's look at the good and the bad. On the bright side, over-tourism brings in revenue, supports local businesses, creates jobs, and helps communities thrive. But the downside? Environmental damage is a major issue. In fact, some places have even had to shut down tourist sites temporarily to let ecosystems recover.
Mass tourism isn't just a problem for cities. It's also a huge threat to the environment. Some of the most fragile ecosystems in Europe are being devastated by excessive tourism. Take Santorini, for example. Every summer, cruise ships unload thousands of passengers onto the tiny island, generating tons of waste and putting enormous strain on limited resources like fresh water and energy. Similarly, in the Alps, overdevelopment for ski resorts and hiking trails is leading to deforestation, soil erosion, and destruction of native wildlife habitats. Beaches across Europe are also suffering. Places like the Amalfi Coast in Italy and the Balearic Islands in Spain are struggling with pollution caused by excessive tourist traffic, plastic waste, and even damage to coral reefs from sunscreen and boat anchors. In some cases, authorities have had to restrict access to certain natural sites to prevent irreversible damage, like what happened with Maya Bay in Thailand or Boracay in the Philippines.
Another major issue is how over-tourism impacts local economies. Prices for essentials like food, rent, and transport can skyrocket, making life tougher for locals. Housing shortages are common too, as investors prioritize short-term rentals over the needs of residents. Cultural traditions can take a hit when tourist-friendly shops and restaurants replace local businesses. Then there's the noise, overcrowding, and disrespectful behavior from some visitors, which understandably leads to tension between locals and tourists. It's no wonder some communities, like those in Spain's Canary Islands, have protested against rising housing costs, traffic, and overstretched services.
Spain's Canary Islands are in turmoil as anti-tourist protests erupt. Thousands of Brits on holiday find their out-of-office bliss disrupted. Residents demand limits on mass tourism, chanting, "Canarias tiene un límite." Protests spread across Tenerife, Gran Canaria, and more, calling for change. Locals want fewer short-term rentals and more affordable housing. Solidarity protests hit Barcelona, Valencia, and Madrid, echoing the call. Protesters are fed up with an economy built on tourism and inequality. They demand a sustainable model that protects the environment and locals. The message is clear. Spain's residents want a balance between tourism and quality of life.
Countries around the world are finding creative ways to tackle over-tourism. Peru, for example, has introduced visitor caps at Machu Picchu to protect the environment and reduce crowds. Other places like Bhutan, Spain, and Austria have implemented tourist taxes or fees to help fund infrastructure and support local communities. Some destinations are promoting off-season travel, while others are encouraging sustainable tourism with eco-friendly tours and bans on single-use plastics. Governments are even running campaigns to educate travelers on how to be respectful and responsible while exploring. Over-tourism is a real challenge, but as travelers, we can also make a difference. By traveling responsibly, choosing eco-friendly transport, booking with companies that care about the environment, and respecting local cultures, we can help protect these amazing places. Plus, we'll get to discover less crowded, unforgettable spots. UNN is changing the face of news. Join us for our weekly Field Messenger meetings and learn how you can make a difference. Visit unitednetwork.earth for more information. Thanks for watching.